Hi there, you're listening to the Estranged Heart podcast, and I'm your host, Kreed Revere. Welcome back to our returning listeners, and if this is your first time here, thank you for selecting this podcast to listen to. As we begin today's episode, I invite you to grab a cup of coffee or tea, settle in, and listen with an open heart. But first, the regular disclaimer. I am not a licensed therapist or counselor. Nothing within this podcast should be considered or taken as therapy. If you are in need of therapeutic support such as counseling, please seek out a therapist near you. Hi there. As a reminder, the support groups begin this week, the week of September the 9th, and tomorrow, Monday, September the 9th, is the last day to register. So if you're interested in joining, please send me an email as soon as possible. The Thursday group for estranged moms is filled, and so that leaves the Wednesday group open for estranged moms, and that will be at 12 p.m. noon Eastern time, so 9 a.m. Pacific time on Wednesdays. As of right now, I'm not sure that group is going to go forward unless we have enough participants. So if you're interested, shoot me an email, theestrangedheart@gmail.com. I have a group going for recently reconciled moms, and while there's a lot of interest from estranged adult children who have emailed me and asked for a class or a support group, and I've tried this twice now, and that has not come to fruition. So I've attempted that. Not entirely sure the reason for that, but I wanted the adult children that listen to this program and who have requested a support group to understand and know what is happening with that. And as I've been saying for the last few weeks now, fall is right around the corner. The anniversary month of the Estranged Heart is October. So in October, we've got lots of new and exciting things coming. Stay tuned, listen for that. And I do have, at last count, room for 2 new coaching clients. So if you're interested in joining and getting some support through one-on-one coaching, email me theestrangedheart@gmail.com, and we can have a conversation and see if the work that I do would be helpful for you. Today's episode is titled, Will They Reap What They Sow? And I, I decided to do an episode on this because I see, hear, and have been around people most of my life who insist that the person who has caused them pain, betrayed them, rejected them, feel that same kind of pain. I've been there. I'm sure that most of us have been there to some degree or another throughout our lives, whether it's with an ex-boyfriend, girlfriend, neighbor, colleague, coworker, or a friend, right? But it really is, it happens more often than I think that people recognize or even realize in the estrangement community among the parents. And um, I think it's worth talking about. I think it's worth having a conversation about. Conversation. This is a monologue for just me, but I've been in conversations about this with estranged parents, and I find several different things that come into play with this, and I think it's important to talk about it. So, we as human beings, I think it's very natural to want someone to quote unquote pay for the pain that we have endured, right? Whether it's resentment and retaliation, um, just that I need them to feel the hurt that they've caused me. And if I go back to all of the work that I do, back to curiosity, and I look at getting beneath the surface of that, there's a, oh my gosh, there's just a crap load of stuff beneath that. And while I have said those words, a large part of my adult life has been spent in relationships, whether directly or indirectly, where I've been and had privy to information from the quote unquote other side. In this case, I've been the adult child, right? I've been on that side of the fence. I've been on the side of the fence of the estranged parent. And what I find really, really interesting, if we stop and look at the person who is saying, I hope they reap what they sow. You know, karma's a bitch. How many times have all of us said that, right? And that karma's a bitch is basically saying, I hope they reap what they sow. And here's the thing, when we are saying, I hope they reap what they sow, or karma's a bitch, well, we're putting that out into the universe too, and therein lies our karma. So, but what I want to get to the bottom of is, why do people feel so insistent that someone else feel the pain and suffering that they feel? I mean, we wouldn't just step out and start hurting other people, like physically harming people because we've been physically harmed, right? That's not, by and large, that's not how we operate as humans. So why do we go there? And why on earth would we go there for our children, right? Well, as I talk about with most everything, we look at trauma and childhood, and we look at unresolved pains and unaddressed hurts, right? If I took every person, every estranged parent that I have heard or seen this written from, those types of things, I could go to each one of them, and if I started asking them questions about their childhood, I would see a crap ton of pain and hurt that has never been addressed, never been witnessed, never been healed. And therefore, here we are in a place in life where we are wanting everybody else to suffer as we have. Because by God, nobody has seen my hurt, right? Nobody has seen, heard, or validated my hurts and pains. Why should I do that for you? What have I experienced? I have experienced people inflicting pain upon me. I have felt that. That I know how to do. I see people do it to me, so I'm going to turn around and do it to you. And if I can't turn around and do it to you, then I'm going to wish it upon you. So when I see and hear someone talk like this, the very first thing I think to myself is, wow, what kind of pain have they not healed? When I hear a parent say they hope that their child reaps what they sow, I know that that is a parent who is neck deep in layers and layers and layers of pain and hurt, invalidation, having been traumatized, having been violated, all of those things. And it's hard for someone who is in that to see that they are in it. It's generally not possible. The work that I did as an estranged mom who and then became reconciled with my therapist helped me to recognize and heal all of those pains and hurts that I had had locked up inside me. And so every time my kid or kids came along and pushed my buttons, and buttons are AKA triggers, okay? Which is why my button isn't the same as your button, because my experiences aren't the same as your experiences. So therefore, my triggers aren't the same as yours. So every time they came along and pushed on one of my triggers, it was basically an alert to say, uh-oh, there's a sore and a pain here. Pay attention to this. But what do? We blame the other person. You should not have pushed my button. You should not have touched that trigger spot. You should not have touched that sore spot. And then we start into this wanting to process this pain. And if we've never been taught another way, the way that we process the pain is to transfer that pain onto someone else. And therein lies the problem. Therein lies the problem. So when you stay in a place of resistance to doing your work, to doing your healing work, to going in and looking at your pain and dealing with your pain and your hurts over your lifetime, you are creating generational patterns of inflicting pain on others. And that's how this works. It's not right, it's not fair, but that's how it's done. Until someone stands up with enough bravery and enough consciousness to say, this is not what I want. This cannot happen. This cannot continue. We cannot continue to go down this road. And I'm stopping it right here, right now. And that is how we break generational infliction of pain. Okay? So how do we do this? Again, I could not have done it without my therapist. I did a lot of inner work on me and not just about the pain my kids were causing me. This is what I think that a lot of parents miss. They go into therapy and they're doing much of what the complaint is about the kids. Well, the kids go into therapy and they're only talking about all of this stuff that their parent is doing or not doing, right or wrong, right now. And so the solution from the therapist is to cut ties, go no contact. When if parents go into therapy, they're working on the why is my kid causing me pain right now, right? And then the thing that the therapist says is maybe you should distance yourself from your child. Maybe you should take some space. Maybe you should figure out, you know, where your boundaries are, what is needed, what can you tolerate, what can't you tolerate, those types of things, instead of looking at what is triggering this. Why do I feel this way? Right? We're slapping band-aids on it. And band-aids work for a little while, but eventually the wound gets so infected and full of all kinds of crap that we've then got to go to the ER or the doctor and have them flush it all out. And it's gross and it stinks and it's disgusting and it hurts and all the things before we can begin to put some ointment on it, some antibiotics, and a fresh bandage. And also understand and takes, and allow air to it and sunlight and all the things to help heal it, right? But if we're going in to therapy or into coaching with a desire for our children to feel the pain that we have felt, we're not going to move the needle on reconciliation. That's not going to happen because your kid can sense that you're not in a place of compassion. You're not in a place of empathy. And if you're not in those places, I mean, think about it. Think about the people you know who are not your children, who are not in the world, your estrangement world, just other people. When those people, are harsh and have lack compassion or empathy, and just really have that hard edge around them, how often do you want to spend time with them? Most of us are like, no thank you, I'll, sorry, we got plans for today, or sorry, I gotta work, or we do everything to back away from that person. So your children can sense this, and other people hear this from you, right? If all the things on the internet were to become public, would you want your child to have access to you reading about and posting in groups about how much you hope that they, quote unquote, get what's coming to them, or that they reap what they sow, or that you hear this a lot in the context of if there are grandchildren involved? Well, yeah, one day their kids are going to turn around and do it to them. Guess what? And I know that the parents that I have interacted with, the parents that, I mean, parents don't generally want bad things to happen to their children. So why are you saying this about your child? Why? If we get curious about that and ask ourselves, why do I want that for my child? Why do I want my child to feel pain? Why do I want, why? That's the question to ask. Not why are they doing this to me? And not the statement of, well, they'll get what's coming to them. But why am I saying these things? And I'm here to tell you it's because there's hurt and pain inside of you. And it's not just about your estrangement. It's not. So I think it's important to understand this type of thinking, this way of interacting with one another, this way of being in the world is generally passed down from family to family to family, meaning from grandma to the parent to the child to then the grandchildren, and so on and so on. And until somebody stops the cycle and says, enough is enough, I am going to stop this. I'm not going to wish this pain on my children. And I, by God, want to find out, why have I ever even thought this? What is going on inside of me? And that is big brave. So I'm going to leave it here for today. If you would like support in coaching one on one, or to be in the support group to help you find your way through this, to help you to feel seen, heard, and validated with your pain, please reach out. Support is available, and non judgmental support, right? I've been there. I have said those words about my children when I was in the throes of estrangement. And I have done a 180. I've done a 180. I don't want my children to feel pain that I have felt, and I don't want them to, quote unquote, pay a price for my pain, for having, quote unquote, been the, source of my pain. I don't want that for my kids. I don't want it for anyone, let alone my children. That being said, I know where that came from me now that I've been in therapy. It came from my own hurts and pain, not being seen, heard, and validated over the years. And it was pain piled on top of pain, piled on top of pain, etc. So if you would like help in working through that, if you would like help to have your pains and hurts seen, heard, and validated, please reach out for support. I can be reached at theestrangedheart@gmail.com or through my website, theestrangedheart.com. Until next time. This brings this episode to a close. I hope that this time together was time you feel well spent and that you are able to find some takeaway nuggets to help you on your journey, wherever you may be on your estrangement and reconciliation path. If you feel you've received something helpful or positive from this podcast, please consider following us, sharing this podcast with others, leaving a positive review, perhaps entertaining becoming a guest on our show, or following us on social media, on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok under the same name, The Estranged Heart. As a reminder, there is an online support group on Facebook. If you are a estranged mom who identifies as being spiritual and approaches estrangement with a sense of curiosity rather than blame and judgment, and desire to do inner self-work and reflection, please seek us out. We can be found at facebook.com/estranged mothers support group. And lastly, if you are an estranged parent or an estranged adult child and would like to have your story shared on the podcast, anonymously or not, please reach out to me via email at theestrangedheart@gmail.com.